starting off tonight with the newest plan to push off the sequester and save us all. Senate Democrats announced their new alternative to a $110 billion bill that replaces the automatic spending cuts until January 2nd of 2014. And there is already a lot of criticism, surprise, surprise. But as it stands, we are just 14 days away from when these deep across-the-board cuts are set to take effect. With me now is today's awesome power panel. We have Gretchen Hamel, Executive Director of Public Notice, Better Market CEO Dennis Kelleher, and Rick Unger, Forbes contributor. Welcome to all of you.
Nice to be here.
Rick, let me start with you. What do you think of the Democrats' plan?
Look, you know, I guess it's a beginning. It's a negotiating point. It's dead on arrival. It's never going to happen. But there are elements of it that actually are interesting.
Like what? What do you like?
I like the scaled-down cuts to I like the fact that we're finally maybe starting to talk about cutting farm subsidies. I think at the end of the day, there's no chance that we're going to see more tax increases, but I'd like to see them get to maybe some loophole.
I don't know. Gretchen, I feel like there are more taxes coming. It seems like everybody in Washington loves taxes right now. They're talking about closing the loophole for the oil industry to the tune of $2 billion. You know who pays for that, right? When you raise taxes on the oil industry, they pass that along to the consumer, all of us. Yeah.
So, I mean, taxes are the easy way out, right? So you just raise taxes, and the legislators, and they don't have to make the hard choices. So, of course, that's something that they want to automatically go to, but this bill has to be dead on arrival. They're saying it's 50%, taxes, 50% spending cuts, and those spending cuts aren't even in the near term. They're over the course of the next 10 years. We've seen that time and time again. These folks have no credibility when it talks to actually having cuts happen over the next 10 years. They can't even have cuts happen now. So this bill, it's just not acceptable.
Dennis, is there anything that you saw on the Democrats' plan that you liked? I mean, I'm trying to be constructive here. I'm trying to solve this problem. Tell me something you liked.
Well, I think it's really important that there's finally a plan out there. You can disagree about the cuts and the revenue raises, and you can disagree about whether it should be one-to-one or something. But finally, there's something in writing on the table that people can start talking about. And I think Rick made a good point. Maybe you don't agree that agricultural subsidies should be cut by $30-some-odd billion, but let's have that discussion. Too much of this discussion is about, I don't want to raise revenue, I don't want to cut. Let's
okay, but Dennis, point to something in wait. I want
time.
Everybody to point to something in here they like. Because we just went around, and I don't think I heard it. Dennis, is there anything in the Democrats' plan that you would accept?
Well, on March 1st, and a few days from today, the defense budget, which this year is $530 billion, is going to have to start being cut by $45 billion. That has to stop, and this bill would stop that.
That isn't a there that you like. So
no, it is something I
feel like
like
maybe you didn't hear the question. I'm going to go on to Gretchen. Gretchen, point to something in here that you like.
Hey, I say take the cuts, but the cuts have to be made in the short term and not in the long term because there's no commitment there.
Okay. I don't know. Rick, what did you like?
There's a lot I like, as you might expect. I like the 50-50. I think that's the right idea. I like the farm subsidy look. I think that's very smart. I like the scaled-down defense budget cuts. I got to tell you, though, this idea of doing it sooner rather than later, it may sound good. Terrible move for the economy, but you do have to lock it in. I'll go with you there. Don't do a thing here where it can be reversed later on. And let's look at the loopholes. The loopholes is the answer in terms of revenue.
Gretchen, do you think are the loopholes the end in terms of revenue? I mean, I don't know that there's enough revenue there. I mean, there's never enough revenue to support all the spending that we're doing. So
no, I mean, if you're going to look at the loopholes, look at the whole tax code, reform the whole tax code, go after it, do the whole thing. But to his point, to talk about short term versus long term, how often do we get stuck in this? And they ended up reversing on their decision every single time. These leaders, they have no credibility on these long term cuts. I mean, they're trying to reverse the cuts that they committed to. That was the White House's idea that they all voted for. They're now trying to reverse, and that was 2 years ago. Give me a break.
Dennis, did you think of something that you like in this plan yet? I'm going to come back for a third time, and I've given you a lot of time to work on your homework assignment, so I'm sure you're going to come up with something right now. Go.
I think I should get partial credit for my last answer, but leave that alone. Look, the reality is you can talk short-term, long-term all you want. In a few days, there's going to be, starting phasing in, about $85 billion in cuts. And half of that's defense and half of that is domestic discretionary spending. So what are you going to do? You have to come up with a plan. This is a credible plan, and very importantly, it's balanced on revenue and cuts, and they're real, just like the $1.5 trillion in cuts that were put in place in 2011. Just like the $700 billion in revenue increases in 2012.
Gretchen, I'll give you the last word before we go on to Simpson Bowles.
last word, if this were real, they wouldn't be going on vacation for the next 10 days with this going into effect in 14
that tells
days.
us
Okay, all right, let's move on to Simpson Bowles back out there again with another op-ed. I mean, they're trying to get everybody back to the table with a plan. What did you think about their plan? Was there anything, I hate to go to Dennis first because I feel like he never took his turn on the last one. What did you like about Simpson Bowles, Dennis?
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing that Simpson and Bowles don't get enough credit for is they actually spelled out exactly what they would cut and exactly what revenues they would increase. And that's what people don't do. The problem is that most people, Democrats and Republicans, like what the spending is on, and that's why Simpson Bowles last March got only 38 votes in the Republican-controlled House. They should get a lot of credit, though. If more people spelled out what they would cut and what they would raise, they'd be talking about reality instead of smoke.
Rick, they're talking about, that the same thing, comprehensive tax reform, where you broaden the base and you lower the rates. Everyone says that. Does that exist? Will we ever do it? Is it just one of those things?
These guys, I got to tell you, I wish they would write this op-ed once a week.
Why? It doesn't seem to be doing any good. No one ever listens to them. The president appointed them and then never talked to them again. He threw them out on their ass.
No, he told us the other night that he is going to be following a lot of it. Look, these guys have the right ideas. They have the right ideas. They have become the referees in this dysfunctional game we're playing in Washington. These are the people we should be paying attention to.
Okay. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm not sure we solved it, but we gave it a shot. All right, changing gears now a bit. So a shocking new report alleges